show that we are happy about. We need to celebrate. We live in kind of like a culture where it's cool to be cool. It's cool to be how to say, indifferent about things. Okay, oh yeah, I went to Japan, what a drag. You know? Oh, you're snowing, you're so cold, what a drag. It's kind of cool to be like that. And I want to say to you that we as Christians don't need to do that. Now, the last time I preached before I went to Japan was that I preached about rejoicing and joy. What is one of the key words that you see during Christmas is joy. You don't just see it in church, you go to the malls, you will see it. The joy of Christmas. They, of course, are referring to buying stuff, getting gifts alone. But we know true joy. And that is something worth celebrating for us. So this morning, as I share with you, I want you guys to find reasons for yourself to celebrate. And if you lack a reason to celebrate, celebrate Christmas. Don't say that, oh, it's just Christmas. Again, I have to buy gifts for people. Oh, so sad. I have to go shopping with everyone else. It's going to be so hectic and busy, and people are going to cut you, whatever. There's going to be so many people, I cannot find parking, but I have to go and buy gifts for my family. I have to. But it's not. It's something that you should look forward to, something that you should be happy about, something that is joyful and worth celebrating. It's a festive season. And not just for Christmas, but if you have no reason to celebrate, I tell you, simple as that, celebrate Christmas. Not consumerism, but celebrate Christmas. Now, I'm loosely basing this message on Nehemiah chapter 12, the end of Nehemiah, where the wall has been built. And today, how appropriate that we have walls being built behind or being knocked down. Okay, so you remember this week as the wall week. And Nehemiah chapter 12, you can turn your Bibles there, but it's kind of how to say, it's disconnected, a little bit disconnected, and it's found scattered throughout Nehemiah chapter 12. Let me help you a little bit to get a better picture of Nehemiah chapter 12. What happened was this. Let me start with chapter 8. Okay, they were, of course, before chapter 8, there was a lot of story about Nehemiah, how he spoke to the king, asked permission, asked for this, asked for that, then fasted and prayed, and all that kind of things happened earlier. And Nehemiah chapter 8 verse 10 was one of the verses I quoted about now 1 month back. Okay, and it says in Nehemiah chapter 8 verse 10 that the joy of the Lord is my strength. How many of you guys struggle to find strength to wake up in the morning to go to work, to get dressed? You are not alone, okay? But the joy of the Lord is my strength. The joy of the Lord is your strength. Alright? Find joy in God. You will find the strength. And by Nehemiah chapter 9, after they had the strength, they completed the wall. Chapter 9. And Ezra, the prophet Ezra, reads from the book of the law. And the Israelites had a great time of confession of their sins and their forefathers' sin, and that led to them being exiled, and this whole situation of the wall and the city of Jerusalem being torn down. And in Nehemiah chapter 10, people responded to Ezra's reading, responded to that incident, and recommitted to God, writing a powerful oath that is recorded in Nehemiah chapter 10 and recorded there forever for us to read. And chapter 11, it goes on to say that the holy city built by God needed a population. They needed people to inhabit the city of Jerusalem, the city of God. And the leaders, what the leaders did was they casted lots, and 10% of the people that were living outside were supposed to move back into the city, and that's what they did. So people sacrificed, people gave, so that this 10% can move back into the city. And Nehemiah chapter 12 is where we're going to pick up our story today. What happened in Nehemiah chapter 12 is this: the work is done, the people is there. It's time to celebrate. Okay? So yeah, I enjoy the Japanese Kit Kats. We have green tea, strawberry, and one more, dark chocolate. Let me try the And we have a lot, so these are for me. It's time to celebrate! It's time to celebrate, okay? Now, here's the thing. Here are, I think today pretty good looking, pretty structured in that 3 points and 3 sub-points, and we're done for the day. And here's the first thing. The first point is this, is that we want to understand the significance of celebrating God. Just like it is commanded for us to rejoice, to have joy, it is commanded that we celebrate as well. Now, you know that the Israelites had many feasts, right? They read the Bible, the familiar parts of the Bible, like the Gospels. Then Jesus was here during the feast of the something. Then Jesus was doing this and the feast of the this. Then the Passover. Then the Pentecost. All these are different feasts from the Bible, and they all originate from the Old Testament times. And I think, according to as I found out, is that there are 7 festivals, okay, or feasts in the Israelite calendar, and it revolves around their seasons, starting from like spring. Okay, so there are 2 kind of like main seasons where they celebrate a lot. Winter, everybody stays in and keeps warm. But springtime, there are four of these festivals in springtime, and another 4 in fall. Okay, summertime I don't know, maybe too hot. Okay, so these are the festivals, and God instated them, commanding them, the Israelites, to celebrate these festivals, to commemorate, to remember, and they were all based on an event. Okay, for example, the Passover. It was based on the event where the last plague was sent by God over the Egyptian, and all the firstborn were killed. But firstborn of the Israelites and the homes of the Israelites were passed over by the angel of death. So that's why they celebrate Passover. It relates back to something. And we need to celebrate because so often we forget, so easily we forget what God has done in our lives. How many of us remember the day that we are born again? And most church membership forms or certain forms that you find, Christian forms, will ask you that. When is the day of your salvation? Do you celebrate your new life in Him? Or do you just celebrate your birthday? Your physical birthday? We should celebrate. Find every reason to celebrate. Okay? And it's easier to celebrate when we are kids. The smallest things we will celebrate. And today we saw how Michaela celebrated learning how to ride a bicycle. Yay! And for her it's a big deal, and it's worth celebrating, and now she's cycling circles in the yard, ruining the grass. Okay? And we need to find things to celebrate, because you know what? It's not for us. I don't know about maybe other people or what, but from what I notice, this generation particularly, us, that means you guys all sitting here, we sometimes find it hard to be happy, to celebrate something. Everything is played down, everything is like made to be indifferent because it's cool. I don't know. Okay? That's what I noticed. So and I think that's the demography here as well. It's a generalization. But we need to find reasons to celebrate, knowing these particular dates, what it means to us, and celebrate them. So it is commanded by God. It is a requirement by God. Okay? And it is the reason, celebrating God is the reason that we live. Every Sunday, we come here, we celebrate God. It should be a festival here. When you come to church, you should not come like you're hungover from a party the night before, because the night before is not the main event. The night before only builds up to Sunday morning, or whatever time your church is, whether morning, afternoon, and night. But this is the main event. And then after this, there's the after party or lunch. Okay? Or whatever Christmas caroling practice. But this is the main event. And when Monday starts, it builds up again. It builds up towards Sunday. And every day should build up towards Sunday. Now I've mentioned this before and I want to say it again. You cannot expect, like when you're in school, you cannot expect to be absent from class Monday to Thursday and you come on Friday and expect to understand what the teacher is teaching. Especially if it is something like chemistry, physics or math. Okay? If you're not paying attention in class on Monday to Thursday, on Friday when it's time to pass up your homework, you're not even going to know what's going on. You're not going to have the right formulas, you don't know what the teacher is saying. Everyone else who has been paying attention in class would know what's going on but you, and you will need to catch up. Now church is like that. If you miss your time with God, Monday to Friday, Saturday, and then you come on Sunday and you don't know what happened, don't be surprised because that's what happens to you when you're not keeping in step with the lessons that God is putting into your lives. So keep up to date. Don't miss out. Sometimes, I don't mean to be all Nazi about reading your Bible. And in Japan, I skipped a lot of days, and I feel like now I'm so way behind that my Bible reading for 1 year won't end on 1st January. So a bit OCD, right? But there were a lot of days where I didn't, but I experienced God in so many more ways. Like just stepping outdoors into the snow and saying, wow, God, this is what you mean when you say white as snow. And it was like really white as snow. It was morning, but it was so bright. It was glaring. It's like you want to cover the sun from here and then the reflection of the sun from the snow. Okay? And I experienced God in that way as well. Keep in step with God, what God is teaching you. Okay? Then on Sunday, you can really celebrate, knowing what to celebrate. Otherwise, you'll be left behind. So those are the first two things, is that it is required, it is commanded, and it is the reason that we live. Finally, we celebrate. Because of this, it is a witness to others. When you come on Sunday, it is a witness to your neighbors that you're coming to church. It is a witness to your colleagues, your classmates, your friends, because they know you're coming to church. That is a witness in itself. But when you hang around, chillax and all that, you lose your authority as you witness to them. As you speak into their lives, there's no power because there's no witness. There's no strength in your witness. You're a witness, but you're a lousy witness. Okay? When you come on Sunday to celebrating God, it is a witness to others, that is, as you can see from Nehemiah chapter 12, verse 43. It says, many sacrifices were offered on that joyous day. And this is talking about the rebuilding. After it's done, they are celebrating. For God had given the people cause for great joy. The women and children were also participated in the celebration, and the joy of the people of Jerusalem could be heard from far away. So people from near or far should be able to sense the joy that's going on in this place. Should be able to catch the celebrative mood, the festive mood here. If they can't, then we have to adjust, because that's not how it prescribes us to do church in the Bible. It needs to be something worth celebrating. And sometimes I appreciate the Tamil churches so much because of this. When they come to church, as you can notice down the street, we have a Tamil church, they come ready to party. They come in their saris, and it's very colorful. They come dressed to impress, because it's a day worth dressing up for. It's different culture here in this church. We don't really dress up. Even if you go to your own birthday party, you don't even really dress up. But the thing is this, you celebrate it. However you want to celebrate it, whether it is that you want to put on your tux, or you want to come in shorts and have a beach party, you celebrate it. And it should be something that's loud, something that's happy. It's a festival to be celebrated, not a funeral. Alright? So that's that. The significance of celebrating God. And second point is this. There is a process in celebrating God. Okay? How do you celebrate God? In verse 44, it says that it gives Nehemiah listed down some of the things that the Israelites did on that day of celebration and what they did, and there was a plan. Something, there was a mastermind behind it. Of course, in this case, it was Nehemiah. He sent out word, he sent out invitation, he asked people from all around the region to come. And people had to plan their journey to Jerusalem, because it was not a simple kind of like a 15-minute drive to church kind of commute. It was something that they need to walk maybe for days to get to Jerusalem. But invitations were sent out. There was going to be a party. Nehemiah said, everybody, these people, you guys need to come, you guys need to do this, you do this, you do this, you do this. And that was the party. It was planned. And our church services too are planned. We have the worship team coming on Saturdays to practice, getting ready. We have different things going on. Sometimes we have to plan for the food, sometimes we plan for certain speakers, sometimes we plan for special performances like on Christmas, or special events like caroling, and it is planned, and it is a celebration. So the first thing about the process is that you have to decide to celebrate. You have to choose. I'm sure that when the planning process, during the planning process, it was not a whole party mood going on. It's probably like what we will be doing before Christmas. There's a lot of hecticness, there's a lot of busyness in buying gifts, in going to and fro. It's probably, some people would have blown their tops, getting frustrated and not being able to buy a certain gift or things like that. It was not festive from the start. It was not celebratory right from the get-go. But there was a decision made somewhere along the line. This day we're going to come together. This is the invitation. We're going to do all this and this and this. It's planned, and then it builds up towards the day. Like I mentioned earlier, Monday to Saturday, it builds up to Sunday. Okay? So plan for your Sunday. Get your life to revolve around Sunday a little bit more. Don't make Sunday or church revolve around your job, or your studies, or your relationship. It should be the other way around. Plan it, and plan it around God. Plan it around church. Alright. And many people were in attendance. In verses 1, 8, 12, 27, all these verses in chapter 12, you see that this person was there. There was a lot of names up. And the names are not familiar. It's not like David or Sam. Okay, there were all kinds of funny names, Jeshua, Maria, all these kind of different names. But all these people, their names were listed down. These were kind of like, there was a party, and these were the VIPs in attendance. You go to certain parties and they tell you, YB, who is going to be there. Certain events, this person is going to be there, this DJ or this celebrity is going to be there. And this was sort of like that. But not only that, not only were the people from the high societies, people who were celebrities, rich and famous were there, but everyone was there to celebrate. Even the common people. So church should be like that. Everyone should be here. All kinds of people. Whether rich, poor, young and old, men, women, children. Now when this festival was going on, when you read about the feasts in the Old Testament and all that, whenever there's a festival, it is commanded that you take a day of Sabbath rest. Okay? Meaning, it's a public holiday. When you come to spending time with God, celebrating God, it's not something you want to juggle. You don't want to be here at church doing your office work. You don't want to be here at church doing something else. When you're here and this time is set apart, it has been planned, set this time aside to focus on God. Don't be here but not here. Don't be here in body but spirit somewhere else. Okay? Come and be focused, be ready to be here. Don't come here and do something else because it doesn't honor God. It shows that you don't understand why you're here for. It shows that you don't understand why the feast has been instated, the holiday has been given. when you come here, it is a day of rest. That doesn't mean come to church to sleep. It means come to church to rest in God, as it says in Hebrews chapter 4. Okay? The rest in God, find the rest in God. Okay? And it was a public holiday, everyone was in attendance. Come to church, focus, come to church, set aside the time and rest in God. And one more step, so that was, step one is you have to plan for it. Second step, you have to be here and you have to set aside your time. It's Sabbath, make it a Sabbath. And finally, there's a time of confession and worship. Let's, you can look at verse 30 for that. Chapter 12, verse 30, it says, the priests, the Levites, first purified themselves and then purified the people, the gates and the wall. Okay, when you come to church, there's a time, yes, there's all the rah-rah-rah time, but there's also a time to be quiet as well. Okay, know the times are, okay, you guys know it, okay, but next time you come to church, notice that there's a time where we're more solemn, sometimes maybe during communion, and then there's a time to be more celebrative and make loud noises. It is said that not only was there a time of purifying, a time of confession before the Lord, but there was also symbols, harps and lyres. Okay, whenever symbols are, it says symbol in the Bible, it resonates with me. Okay, because you don't play the symbols gently. There's no way to play a symbol that way. I'm trying to be really creative. Okay, I'm trying to think of ways to play the symbols like in the spa music. Okay. But that doesn't work, okay? When you come to church, when it says in the Bible that there's symbols, immediately I think, yes, there's the electric guitar next to it, and then there's the bass guitar. There we go. Okay? Harps and lyres, yeah lah, string instruments, that's what it is lah. Today's version is the guitar, okay? So, there's that thing going on. There are different times in the church service, in our celebration times, but there's that. That means there is a loud thing, and once again I remind you in verse 43, it says that it was heard from miles away. It was not just heard in our own little church building, it was heard from outside of the church. And I don't mean to make noise so that people will call the police, okay? Not that, but there must be a joy that is overflowing, that is more that cannot be contained. That when you worship God, when you sing praises to Him, you got this silly smile on your face. And people who don't understand it will think that you got this silly smile on your face. Okay? But those who understand the joy of which we can be in God's presence, making noise, celebrating Him, we should understand why. When people come to church excited, we shouldn't think this guy's afraid. Oh, you're such a holy Joe Christian. That should not be the person that's weird. That should be the person that's normal in this church. Because we understand that Jesus came, Jesus died for us, so that now we can stand in His presence. If we do not understand it, then all this is just a show. You clap your hands, but you don't understand it. Next time you come, especially during time of praise and worship, that is the time that you really let go. That's the time that you really understand. Pay attention next time to what you're singing. Pay attention next time to what you're doing, to the expression on your face. Because you're before the King. What do you think He would like to see on your face? You know? Frowny face or a smiley face? Okay? Happy face, sad face. Now I don't mean to say you need to come to church with a mask. But more often than not, Christian life should be of victory and not of defeat. Alright? So come ready to praise and to worship. Celebrate from the heart. And finally, as we celebrate, here are three things that can happen. These are the results of celebrating. Celebrating God specifically. When we come together, when the invitation is given out, when we respond to the invitation, whether of the pastor or of the worship leader, we come together, what happens is unity. Whenever we celebrate God, we become united. Whatever squabbles you have with another Christian or disagreement with another church member you have, it is put to second place immediately. Because now we're together in this place, worshipping God. That comes first. That's number one. Okay? I heard it so many times in Japan. Number one! I said that's one of the Japanese words I learned. Number one! You have to say it like that. You can't say it like number one. Okay? So, and hey, yeah, the Japanese are like one of the, if they want to, they're one of the most energetic, crazy people ever. And on the street, they're like, you know, you see them, they're very quiet and composed. In the trains, it's totally quiet, don't fight. Okay, don't make a sound. Most of them are really quiet. When they talk to one another, they just whisper. But then you come, I went to the museum, some places where there are presenters or hosts. Suddenly, the level of energy is like through the roof. Like, it's like, whoa. It's like that. Okay? Number one. Okay. Worshipping God becomes our number one priority. And that brings us together. When we celebrate God, we become united as brothers and sisters in Christ. Okay? And that's the first result of celebrating God. And how good it is, like it says in the Psalm, when brothers and sisters are together and there's that unity. That's when the anointing flows. And in the New Testament, it says the same thing, that when 2 or 3 are gathered in His name, there He will be. Sometimes that verse is quoted in a way that peeves me, you know, ticks me off a little bit, because it's always used during prayer meeting when less people are around. It can be, it definitely applies in that setting, but sometimes I feel like we only apply it in that setting. But it is not. There is a synergy that happens, there's an energy, the atmosphere changes when we are together, and when we are together in God's name. When you meet up with your friends, it's different than when you meet up with your friends in God's name. Something happens in the air. Something changes in the atmosphere because we gather together as Christians. 2 or 3 or 4 or 500, 1,000. When we gather that way, something happens, something special happens. It doesn't say in the Bible specifically what happens. I don't know. I don't really know what's the magic that happens. But God says that happens. And it happens from my experience. And I'm sure you've experienced it before. So when you come together, come ready to be a hot ember. Okay? That when you put a few embers together and the Spirit of God just blows, fire happens. Okay? Don't come as a cold blanket. Like, Liverpool lost, I slept so late. Okay? Come as one of the embers. That when all of us here as embers come together, even those who are cold will be set on fire. Okay? Unity happens. And another result of celebrating God is this. It brings empowerment for the future. That you see from Nehemiah, this, we of course read the whole Bible already. We have the whole Bible. At the time of Nehemiah's writing, this was the end already. After chapter 12, there's verse 13 and the end already. But this was not the end of the story as it would be. It was the end of Nehemiah's story. But God had more to tell. A bigger story. And because the walls were built, because the city was rebuilt, Nehemiah rebuilt the walls, there was more that people can expect. Because they celebrated and they can commemorate this day as the day that the walls and the city of Jerusalem was rebuilt. They can look back on this day and have hope for future. It empowers us for the future when we celebrate. It gives us strength for tomorrow. If we every day is just no celebrating, every day is just like humdrum, monotonous life. If there was like a graph in your life, it's just like flat line, stagnant, straight all the way. Then sooner or later you see that you start to dip. Okay? I believe it was Rick Warren who said that if you are not growing, you are dying. If the church is not growing, the church is dying. We need to grow. We need to be upward trend. There will be days where we feel down, that's fine, but there needs to be a general upward trend in this graph of our lives. And celebrating helps us pushes us upwards. When we come together celebrating God, it empowers us for the future. When you feel like there are days where it's super dry, you can look back on this day and what happened. Okay? So look for things to celebrate in church, in your life. And finally, the last result of celebrating God is this, is that it brings life. Finally, the desolate city of Jerusalem, after the celebration, people moved in and there was life in the city again. If you feel like your spiritual life is dead, perhaps what you need is a dose of celebration. Not celebrating nothing, not celebrating your defeat, but we as Christians have so much to celebrate. I don't even know where to start. Maybe you can, if you really don't know, like I said, start with Christmas. Just that. And what does Christmas mean? Gifts. But most of all, the biggest gift of all is Jesus coming to us. God's gift to us, that's Christmas. Okay? So I encourage you, hey, this year, go for it. Buy me gifts. Buy one another gift. Let there be an exchange of gifts. Let us not just say, let's just do the shortcut way and really be, try to tone it down. But let's not do that this year. Let's try to do the opposite and let's try to tone it up in that sense. And not just Christmas, there's also the gift of life. And this sounds so cliche, but it's so true. Life itself. And for Christians, not just your physical life that you have oxygen to breathe, but life in Jesus. That the Holy Spirit is alive in you. That we are saved. We have an eternity, we have a hope for the future. We have a hope of glory. It's worth celebrating. We can celebrate that anytime. And for me, I've decided to do this. That after to make a big deal out of things, to hype things up a little bit more, because some of us we really need this. Is that for myself, to celebrate my return from Japan, to celebrate my Japanese holiday, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have Japanese food, which I'm now more familiar with, and I know how it's supposed to taste like, and we're going to do that again. And I'm going to remember my trip to Japan and all the people that I met, and show photos, and make you guys jealous a bit. Okay? So, hey, I'm going to invite you to my place to have Japanese food soon. So, come for that. So, that's Korean. But you can bring kimchi, it's okay. You mean so that's guy. Okay, so that's that. We need to find a reason to celebrate. We need to celebrate. It is commanded. We are told to remember God's works in our life, and we have a reason to celebrate. And celebrating not only gives us a good time and a good excuse to eat, it also gives us more than that. There are results from that. There's unity, there is a hope for future, there's life anew. So I suggest to you, even as Christmas draws nearer and nearer, to rejoice, to have joy. And not only that, to celebrate it, to make it, to externalize it. So this morning, that is my encouragement to you, to celebrate. Alright? So let's pray. God, I thank you for this morning, that we can come and be here again truly. Today is about celebrating you. And like every Sunday, every other Sunday, it's about celebrating you, God. And God, I pray that you begin to move us and teach us to celebrate. Teach us how to be joyful and to rejoice, not because of our circumstances, but because of you that is in us, God. So God, even right now, as we consider some of the things that we need to celebrate, as we consider Christmas that is coming towards us so quickly, I pray, oh God, that you help us to celebrate you in the right way. To not only have a good time of eating, but a good time of remembering God's greatest gift to us this season. God, I pray, oh God, that as we go from this place to a time of lunch, I pray that you continue to speak to us this morning. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Alright, thank you for being here. Yes? Yes, we'll bring you lunch. So join us for lunch. No, not today. Need some time to prepare. Alright, so join us for lunch. Okay. Oh.